Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, welcome to Season 3, Episode 6 of the Shaherald Nightlife. And tonight topic is on the top 10 struggles of a born Muslim. So now this term born Muslim, right? Maybe some of you who are out there do not know what is this meaning. They refer to Muslims who are by birth, they are already Muslims because their parents, are Muslims, and therefore that's why the term born Muslim come about. And so the struggles of a born Muslim and a revert is probably different in certain areas, but we also share similar struggles in many areas. And if you're wondering, for some of you, what is the difference between a revert and a convert, right? Why do Muslims use the word revert instead of convert, as you hear some of us refer to this term? So a revert, why we call it revert is because in Islam we believe all of us were born with natural fitra. Fitra meaning, we believe in one God and believe in that He created all things, and therefore that's basically the simplistic way of saying it. Okay, and so therefore we were all born Muslims in that sense. We have the will to we all want to submit to the one true God, and we believe in one God. And just like animals, even when God created them, they also submit to Him. And therefore, when we are born, maybe our parents, they are not Muslims, like, they can be Buddhist, Christian, whatever, and we are brought into those religion as a baby. And therefore, when we come back to Islam, or when we embrace Islam as a convert, in that sense, we are actually going back to the original faith, the religion of believing in one God. And that's why we call ourselves reverts. I hope that makes a very clear explanation. Inshallah, I try my best to be eloquent tonight, but that is the best way I can put it. And maybe Ustad Hafiz can can add on more later. Okay, but tonight's topic is really about the 10 struggles of a born Muslim. And over here on the panelists, we have on the top right, Ustad Hafiz. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, brother.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much for tuning in today and to be part of the show. I hear that you are also interested in investments, and you have a travel agency. Maybe share more a bit about yourself so that the audience know who your background and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So, firstly, thank you for having me on board. Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So, I'm Hafiz Jabbar actually. I don't fancy being called Ustaz because I'm still learning. So much to learn in this religion that it's endless lah, I would say. So at the same time, I used to work in masjids in Singapore for about 5 years before
Mhm.
joining an investment firm, I would say. So I do investments for clients. And as much as that, I have my own travel agency, which is Ambience Paradise Travels. And basically, I do Umrah. So inshallah, next month will be the first inaugural trip for my own company, inshallah. So other
Wow.
than that, yeah. Other than that, I love football. I'm an Arsenal
Mm.
fan. Yeah. So whoever's a Manchester United supporter can please leave this life. No, I'm just kidding. So just kidding. I'm just kidding. So
Okay.
Allah. So that I'm married. I'm married and I have
Mm.
one daughter.
Mhm.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
That's about it lah. Basically,
Mm.
let's see how it goes during this life. Then we can get to know more about each other, inshallah.
Inshallah. I hear you also teach Quran and how I seen you teach it in a mosque or
I
and
teach it at people's houses actually.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's my passion. My one of my biggest passion is reciting the Quran. I've
Oh.
learned for about 10 to 12 years before I
Mhm.
was tasked to teach by my own teacher. So
Oh,
he said it's time. Then I decide. Then I'm more brave to actually start teaching now because I learned for about 10 to 12 years, but I didn't felt that I could. I I was on par to teach the Quran
mm,
until my teacher gave the stamp of authority. My teacher's from Egypt. His name is Sheikh Muhaimin. And another one in Singapore as well, Ustaz Masri. And then when they gave the stamp of approval, then I started to teach others how to recite.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
If you, for a side note, if you guys have ever heard Ustad Hafiz do his solat. He is the imam. The last time we did a prayer together, and his recitation was also beautiful. So inshallah, those who want to learn how to recite the Quran can go to him. And also, ethnicity is an Indian, right? So
Yeah, I'm
actually,
Indian.
on my show, I looking for more Indian Muslims to share the story to. Inshallah,
Okay,
you
jackpot.
get those Indian Muslims to share. And yeah, you also mentioned that your favorite verse from the Quran is chapter 55, verse 76.
Yes,
All believers will be reclining on green cushions and splendid
yes.
carpets. Can you explain a bit on that part? Why is that your favorite verse?
First thing first, that's my favorite surah of all time,
Mm,
Surah Rahman. And Surah Rahman is also the first surah that I actually memorized. And that ayat, because I'm a visual person by nature, so that ayat just allows me to visualize the beauty of Shurga or Jannah as a whole, that
mhm,
it is a relaxing place. So I read a book by Ustaz Omar Muhammad Noor, and his book, he stated in Malay, but I just translate in English. He said, the time to be tired is in the dunya, because in the hereafter is the time to rest. So this verse resonates with me, because whatever I do, I want to put my heart and soul in whatever I try to do.
mhm,
As in for the religion, for the family, everything, because I know my resting place is in the hereafter. So
mhm.
that ayat as a whole allows, and it's beautiful, that Rofin, that beautiful sound of the cushions, the effect of being rested after your journey in the dunya. So that ayat really like touches me lah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like you study so hard for an exam.
Ah,
After the exam, you get to
yeah.
finally take a break.
Then you chill lah. This chill is like the forever chill lah.
Because
Yeah. So that's what I want.
in local lingo, right? We say go corner relax forever corner
Lepak
relax.
one corner. Ah,
Lepak one corner. Okay, okay. Thank you
yeah.
so much, brother Hafiz, for
No
sharing
problem.
this is your favorite ayat. Okay, so next on the panelist, I also like to introduce you, brother Iskandar, who's all the way from the Netherlands. Thank you, brother Iskandar, for joining us. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah. It's Zohor, past Zohor already, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I see you have tea.
I have tea.
And I see you are wearing the nice t-shirt that we bought for you from
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. It just arrived. For
finally,
when did you
alhamdulillah.
send it? Like half a year ago?
Yeah, I think when was Eid? Was it Eid, right? That was Eid. That was
Yeah,
Eid.
yeah.
We sent this t-shirt to him after Eid.
This one, this one,
And
this
now it finally reached him.
one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, brother. And looking good with the shirt. Next, introduce to you the MEMJ, but the Muslim apologies from Malaysia.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum,
Yeah.
brother.
Waalaikumsalam. Yeah. How are you guys?
How are you? How are you? Alhamdulillah.
I'm good. Alhamdulillah. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us to the show. Okay. So today,
Yes.
you and brother Hafiz both are born Muslims,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so we rely on both
Actually,
of
I like
you.
to. Actually, I would like to regard myself as a born again Muslim.
Born again. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. If
Yeah.
you remember his story, right?
Yeah.
He got shared,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did. Yeah. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Thanks for joining the show and for being with us tonight. All right. So without much further ado, maybe we can have Brother Hafiz. Okay, tell us, as a born Muslim, what is like your first number one struggle if you have of all top 10?
Top 10 eh? So
Yeah.
I just want to ask before, because I'm really not very IT savvy. I see
Okay.
some comments. How do we respond to the comments there?
Oh, okay. You
Pardon my
see,
ignorance.
it's okay. You go to comments, you can post a comment at the bottom and type and click
But I
enter
cannot.
and
I think at the bottom I don't have like a chat box of sorts to type
really,
in.
maybe you need to
No,
shift your your browser higher a bit. You try.
I
Is it too
maximize
low?
already.
Oh,
Is the
maximize already.
max? I mean, in the private chat, I see the chat box. Like, I don't know if that is the
Hmm.
box to answer to, but it's okay. It's not
It's
a
okay.
big issue, because I saw
It's okay.
someone.
You can
Yeah.
reply the comments after this,
Yep.
and you can go to the
Inshallah.
YouTube video and the comments. So,
Oh,
guys,
okay.
you can ask your question, and inshallah, brother Hafiz will answer them as well.
Yeah.
So, brother, what is
Correct.
your the first of the 10 struggle?
Okay, so I think the first one is definitely uh how do I put this? The the notion of there's an expectation that you have to be a very good Muslim or a
Mm.
Muslim who understand the religion from the start. There's no
Oh.
room for error as
Mhm.
a Muslim, as a born Muslim. So when you're born and you're put into the world, the society at large, everybody looks upon you and hey, you're Muslim. You should know what it means to zakat. You should know what it means to pray. You should understand already by this. You know, you should do this, do this, do this. This is expected of you. Versus if you are a revert of sorts, right?
Mhm.
Like yourself, you are given more chances to adapt to the religion. And even if you're 10 years down the road, people will still think, oh, it's okay, he's a revert. It's okay, he's still learning. But for us Muslims, right, it's
Mm.
very, in a way, tough sometimes because the expectation is there and it's very high. And also, example, if you, for myself, like I know how to read the Quran, let's say, the expectation becomes magnified.
Wow.
So sometimes as an individual, as a normal human being,
Mhm.
you feel like, "Oh, that's the biggest challenge lah. How do I
Mm.
maintain that expectation from society? But at the same time, what if I make mistakes along the way? I'm not as easily forgiven versus if I'm a revert. So that I feel is one of the biggest challenges faced by a born Muslim.
Is there a reason why such expectations, how they come about? And also, like, is this like an expectation as an ustad, right? Or you become an ustad, you recite the Quran. Um, how come this is created in society? How
And
did this come about?
I would share this because it's something personal as well. So I was from a very strict family.
Okay.
My parents were strict, right? The strictness level is like you can't come home before after certain timing. Although I was 25, 26, the curfew still was there and all that. So you can't do this, you can't do that, can't go out with friends as long it doesn't do anything good for you. It's not, so it's like strict parenting. So on my end, because of the strict parenting, a lot of people expect that I turned out really well. I'm not saying I
Mhm.
didn't, but I'm saying Alhamdulillah I turned out okay. I didn't, you know, go astray and all that. But at the same time, I was struggling with my deen many years. Like even though I was a Bilal or Imam at the masjid, I still felt that I didn't understand the religion as a whole because
Mm.
I'm just trusted into going for ngaji classes, Quran classes, going for religious classes, but I didn't really understand. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
Mhm.
that full capacity to comprehend the religion, I didn't have back then.
Okay.
But I just know that yeah, Islam is a religion, is my religion. I have to pray, I have to do this, I have to do that. But beyond that, I cannot comprehend until when I'm really older.
I
Like right
see.
now, like after going for classes and then taking my degree and all that, then you start to understand. And this takes so many years. But in secondary school, to be honest, I didn't even understand what the heck this is all about. I even question like, are other religions the right religion? You keep questioning those kind of things, right? Like for
Yeah.
example, yourself, you also went through certain stages to find out that Islam is the right religion. It's the same with a born Muslim. It is not automatic that we already appreciate this religion. It took some time, and that's especially for me. Yeah.
Wow, very beautifully
Mm.
said. What about the MEJ? Do you share similar thoughts as Brother Hafiz?
Yes, actually, I agree with most of Brother Hafiz's points because as a born Muslim, when we grow up, we go to class mengaji. Okay, same thing in Malaysia, same deal. We go to class mengaji. You're expected to read the Quran, at a certain level. Probably not as in a high pressure cooker as how it is for Muslims. With all due respect to Muslims in Singapore, I think the situation here is a bit more lax because Muslims form the majority here of sorts. But at the
Mm.
same time, because it's basically religion has Islam, especially, has been taken as some sort of ritual, a daily ritual. I mean, we are taught how to pray, how to fast, how to do what is zakat. You're supposed to do the Hajj when you are older, etc. But what is Islam? What Islam is? What is the core? What is the core? Why do you believe in Islam apart from what your parents teach you? This is something you have to figure out on your own. You can't learn this from your ustaz. You can't learn this in school. Okay, this is something you need to figure out for yourself as you grow older. So this is the issue actually that I faced, but not. I don't question Islam. Although I'm actually quite fortunate in the sense that I've never questioned or I've never doubted Islam. But as I grew up, I start to think why I'm here, why Islam, as in why Islam is, and the more towards the philosophical, the meaning of Tawheed and so on. So this is the struggle that I had to face up, and Alhamdulillah, I managed to actually figure this out on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. Just sharing from my end, when I was before I was a Muslim, I was a Catholic. Actually, on the contrary, I was like full on belief that my religion was true. uh, because maybe it's because of how my concept of other religions were shaped by society. Like at a point in time, I thought Islam was a religion where they believe in Muhammad only, peace be upon him, or where there's a moon god that they believe in because of the moon and the star on top of the mosque. Of course, at that point in time, that was a very shallow way of looking at the religion. I didn't read the books, so therefore, I knew at the point in time when I was studying Christianity that it was the truth. you know, I didn't really question it until I went to study philosophy and dive deeper into meanings and things that we perceive in life, and then I questioned a lot about what I believe in, and got to a point where I totally didn't believe in it after that. So it wasn't somebody who come to me and preach, "Hey, you believe in Islam." Actually, honestly, nobody came to me and said, "Believe in Islam." Nobody came to me and said, "Be a Muslim." In fact, my Muslim friends would say, "Hey, bro, why don't you play soccer with me?" Or have a teh tarik somewhere, a drink. If some of you are not in Singapore, you don't know what teh tarik. It's a hot milk tea, and I rarely got preached to or asked to believe in Islam. So it's surprising also for myself how I eventually came to Islam. And okay, so I've also come across some of the comments that I read, which I think is very important because earlier you mentioned about customs. This sister of ours called Leila Bonita, she says that the biggest challenge for those who are born in Islam is the absence of actual Islam and the existence of social customs instead, and the many restrictions that make escaping into the light of the atheist world as a kind of freedom. So, in short, what she's trying to say that is we are so used to our rituals and custom that we forget, why we are doing those things, and therefore we see the freedom from Western ideology. Like you can get to not wear hijab, for example, or that you can go and party and have fun and drink alcohol and do whatever you want because it's the name of freedom, right? And coming to this world with a great blessing like Islam, you may keep you from seeing and appreciating its beauty in itself. And we are paying attention to whether we want to study more about Islam and all that. We start to see it as oh, we are just born in this family, we are restricted by the Quran and the Sunnah and everything, so we just follow, right? So so from this point of view, do you think this is actually a challenge for born Muslims? Like because I'm not a born Muslim, so imagine I'm in a family. Okay, maybe I can give you this perspective. I'm in a family of Christians, right? Okay, but actually we do have a lot of restrictions, so I cannot really, relate to it. But I'm just thinking if you're in a school full of boundaries and restrictions, and then suddenly you see from outside the school gate, you can see people, wearing different kind of uniform to school. They can freely wear, teenage clothes and stuff to school instead of wearing a uniform which you used to wear. I guess you might be wondering, what if I was always on the other side? What if I was on a greener? Is that pasture greener? you know, is that what you face as a challenge, brothers? Okay, wait. By the way, Alhamdulillah, my wife is here to join us,
Hi, Assalamualaikum.
so she can give a lady's perspective on this.
Waalaikumsalam. Yeah.
Okay, so you heard my question, right?
Yes, I
Okay, do you have any comments on the what I just said?
Oh, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Well, Whether it's actually a greener pasture. Is that your question?
Yeah, do you feel like when you were born Muslim, do you have this thinking like, oh, um,
Mm.
there's like a greener pasture over there. Maybe, why am I following my religion? Why can't I be like those guys, go out and have fun?
I mean, I think personally, it's for me. Because I've always grown up in a secular world. I wasn't put through the madrasa or anything like that. So naturally, I've been on technically both sides. So the hijab was also a very recent thing, that I actually put this on like after we got married, right? So for a very long time, I was actually facing um, a somewhat identity crisis because I really wanted to fit into the mold, but yet at the same time, deep down, I still want to retain myself, my identity as a Muslim woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so um, whether or not I actually feel that there's actually a greener pasture, yes, definitely, and that's why I wanted to fit into the mold. So I was actually pretty much trying to fit my life to become like like a what do you call this?
Same with everyone.
Yeah, I wanted to be the same as everyone. I didn't want to be
Mm.
different. So I think at the end of it, it just became one of those things that I had to go through in life in order to realize that, you know, that's not who I am and that's not who I want to be, because that realization came on later.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely a point in my life where I wanted to be like the rest. I wanted to be successful like the rest. I wanted to be seen as this woman who's not bounded by, like I'm a different Muslim woman. I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
a stereotype typical Muslim woman. I think that was what I grew up with. I did not want to see as one of the Malay Muslim women in Singapore. That was something I was trying to like stay away from. So
Can you describe a bit more about this identity crisis, like Malay Muslim women? What exactly is Malay Muslim women? For some who don't know, lah. Okay.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but okay, actually I know the reason why, but basically this Malay Muslim term has been coined in Singapore for a very, very long time. For some reason, whenever you're Muslim, you're definitely Malay in Singapore, right? It's always Malay Muslim. It's never like Chinese Muslim or like Indian Muslim. So the moment you're Muslim, you're Malay. So the thing is, because I'm of mixed heritage background, right? So when I was not wearing the hijab, I was always mistaken for a Chinese girl, right? So the moment I put this cloth on my head, immediately Malay, and I didn't want to be classified as that because the narratives that surrounding the race, because I had a lot of friends who are non-Muslims who are of the majority race in Singapore. The narrative is that Malays are lazy, we don't like to work, we're always on MC, we just cannot work lah, basically.
Oh,
To
the
put it in
media
short terms lah, yeah.
media
And
like to say what, take drugs, go to jail.
something like that. You would know lah, you were from the other side, right? So so not until you actually, you actually got married, you understood the
Yeah.
challenges that I faced, right?
Yeah.
So as a minority, I did not want to be lumped together with this narrative of being lazy and and stuff like that. So naturally I tried to gravitate towards becoming a lot more westernized, trying to associate my identity more with the Chinese side of things, because I couldn't like I couldn't just bring myself to want to become a Malay Muslim woman at a very young age for some reason. Yeah. So that was the crisis that I was, internally having, because I was brought up in Muslim family, right? Muslim household, and things like that. But when you go out, like when I went out, I didn't want to be associated with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how did you? Okay, by the way, for Chinese Muslims, who wear the hijab, they are also mistaken as Malay, even though they are Chinese. Yeah. So okay,
Yeah.
my question: how did you eventually overcome this hurdle of an identity crisis? How did you, like? Okay, I don't care. I'm just going to wear the hijab because of what reasons and.
I think it was a process. I think it came to a point where I stopped caring about what other people think. But that definitely was a process. It did not happen overnight. It was something that I had to learn to sort of uh, you know, to overcome, over time after I met you actually. So before I met you, I was very much a Muslim by name kind of girl. Like, I pray when I want. Okay, this is personal, but I guess I just share in case some of you might relate. So I pray whenever I want to. Sometimes, I don't really place importance to religion, I would say at that point. But I think after I met you, you basically reintroduced Islam to me.
No, as a revert.
As a revert, you introduced Islam to me. So I saw Islam in a very different lens, like from a perspective of someone who's coming in from the outside. Because I followed you for classes every week and stuff like that. So when we were young, naturally my parents sent me for classes. We go for classes. We go for classes because our parents tell us to go for classes, right? We pray because our parents tell us to pray. Right? Who can relate? Nobody thinks that, I pray because I am for the love of Allah, I'm seeking His forgiveness. No, nobody does that. I mean, like, I don't know about other people, but when I was young, I was like, okay, I pray because mommy asked me to pray lah. I pray lah. Sometimes when you're young, you just lock yourself in the room. Mommy say pray it, yeah, pray it. Actually, inside not praying So things like that. I'm sure those who are born Muslims have gone through this phase. Okay, so so that was me for a very long time. So when I started seeing the religion in different lens, and I think when I started to learn more about it from that angle and that perspective coming in, it sort of made me realize that I think it came to a point with maturity as well that this life is just, we care too much about what other people think of us, and that was basically what set me free, because I stopped caring about what people thought of us or of me. And that's when I thought, it doesn't matter lah, whatever I do. So in fact, after I put this on and I met one of my ex-colleagues, he was my boss. The first question he asked me, why are you wearing the hijab now? He asked me this question because I don't blame him, because I wasn't wearing it before. So, he was like, is it because you're married now, so you're wearing it? Common, typical, right? So I was like, no, I wear it because I'm required to wear it. So yeah, but people are going to see you different. So then I asked him this question, but I'm still the same Shahira, right? You see me as the same Shahira. And he's like, yeah, but that's because I know you. But somebody who doesn't know you is going to view you differently, So I said, it doesn't matter.
Oh, mashallah. I think
so
what you shared was very insightful. And by the way, guys, this is not scripted. I don't even discuss this today. I just found out all this. Yeah. What other identity crises? Are men and women different? Do they face the same or not?
I'm not sure actually. I've never had this conversation with a male Muslim guy. Mostly with Muslim women, and I think because our identities are very stuck in your face, because the Muslims wear a hijab, right? So naturally, men, if you want, you don't. That's not written on your face that you're a Muslim or whatever, Yeah. So
except unless men grow a beard, maybe they start to think.
Yeah, but then I mean, there are a lot of men who are not who have beards, right?
You might be a hipster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very. It looks like the women on a physical front face a lot more challenge because they carry their faith around their head, right? Sort of like they wear a scarf to say I'm a Muslim. So people kind of have that thinking, like expectation. And imagine if you're an ustazah or even a madrasah student, and I think you have even more societal kind of exception, we call it expectation. Yeah. So moving on to next point, what is the second most biggest struggle that you face as a born Muslim? Anyone want to speak? Wait, unmute yourself. Don't forget.
Can I ask a question first?
Okay, brother Iskandar, what's your question?
So yeah, we're moving back. Sorry about that, but yeah, about question one. So this pressure you face, is it like mainly from family members or the own Muslim community, or is it also from outside? Because I can expect that people, when they hear or see you're Muslim, they expect you to know certain things or be a certain way, and maybe they think you're a representative of Islam. So do you feel a pressure from like non-Muslims that you might do something wrong and it might reflect badly on all other Muslims? Does this fear or pressure exist?
You're asking which person? Anyone?
All y'all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Your ladies first. Maybe you answer his question.
I think the pressure mainly comes from it's mainly external pressure. There's definitely pressure from family as well. So like my mom used to say like, you're a Muslim woman, how can you, dress like this? Or like, I used to be called up for, wearing certain clothes, and she would tell me, go and change. You cannot go out like this, so but then when you're young, you're like, okay, wear cardigan outside, take out. So I tell you, okay, this is very, very common. So um the pressure definitely comes from both sides. But it's mainly from outside because we tend to want to assimilate to the cultures outside of our household. So mainly the pressure comes from outside, from wanting to from having to be a certain way or act a certain way. Not so much, I don't really care, like, when people say you wear the hijab, therefore you have to behave in this way, this way, this way, this manner. To me, I think, when I decided to put it on, when I decided to tell the world that I'm Muslim by visual, I was ready for. I mean, I was already at that point where I'm just like, this piece of my cloth is between is between me and my Lord. There's nothing got to do with people. So there's no perfect Muslim out there. So it was more of like, okay, like I didn't care. But I think growing up, mainly the pressures were coming from outside, like to be a certain way, to dress a certain way, to speak a certain way, to behave a certain way. Yeah. But I did not feel the pressure of having to put it on or having to behave like a Muslim back then, because my surroundings, my friends, mainly they were not Muslim, so they don't care. I think the only pressure I faced for back then was because I was in banking. We had a lot of events and stuff like that. Was having to socialize, and people like, hey Shah, you don't drink. So there's certain lines that I draw across. Like, I don't. Whenever I go for events, I never touch alcohol and things like that. So there are lines that I draw across, and they're like, oh, it came to a point where they just like give up, and they're like, oh, Shah doesn't drink, so because she's a Muslim, she looks like one of us, but she just doesn't drink, so it's fine. Yeah. So there was that pressure, but there was no pressure to become like a good Muslim or whatever. Like a Muslim has to be a Muslim lady has to be a certain way, no, unless that came from my parents. But that was not very like, because I'm not with my parents 24/7 outside anyway.
Okay. So, brothers, do you have anything to add to the question that Iskander asked? No.
You want me to answer?
Yeah. Anyone?
Basically, actually, I agree with Shahira. Most of the things that she faced, we are also facing here, okay, in Malaysia. Okay, just because Malaysia is a Muslim majority country doesn't mean that, because we have a strong minority here as well. So because I'm in this sector where it's dominated by non-Muslims, so I face some of the issues that Shahira faced as well. So whenever they have a function or whatever, everyone else is drinking but you're not, so you kind of feel outcast a bit, but of course, I had to stay with the faith, right? So of course this came later. But in short, actually it's like this. I think it's about managing expectations, and also belief in yourself, belief in your principles. I mean, if you understand what Islam is and what you're expected of as a Muslim, not from your parents, not from your relatives, not from your society, but what Islam tells you to do, then you believe in yourself, you believe in your principles, and you will stand firm regardless of whatever pressure that you face. I mean, I came to this conclusion. It took a while for me to come to this conclusion, actually, to be honest.
Yeah. MashaAllah. Brother Hafiz, is there something to add?
Okay lah. So in honesty, because we are from Singapore, so there is a good understanding of being in a multiracial, multicultural or religious society. So I don't really feel any pressure of sorts from non-Muslims that I have to uphold myself in a certain way. It's more of my dealings with the Muslims that are more challenging, I would say. So I would say this. I don't know if I'm out of topic a bit, but basically it's the ideology or ideology difference that we have as Muslims that are tougher to manage than having to answer to a non-Muslims on how we behave or how we dress up and all that. So because if you look at my dressing, right, if I go for classes, I usually just wear the jubah and all that. I don't really care what people say, even if I take the train or anything. I do get stares, but it's okay lah, normal kan. If you see a monk, you will also naturally just take a while to adjust, right? If I were to see a monk on the train, you will just look at 5 seconds and then you just go on with your day. So I think it's because it's not the cultural norm lah. So that for me is not the big issue. But I think the bigger issue is how ideologies have been embedded in our society. And you know, I'll just be straight lah. Example. So my some of my family members, they have this ideology that during Maghrib they must on the lights. So last time when we were younger, we just on the lights because that's what our parents asked us to do. Kan, Maghrib on lampu, I mean on the lights, because so I asked, why must on the lights during Maghrib? The answer is because shaitan is there. So if you on the lights, shaitan will run away. That's the mindset.
Actually, there is a hadith which says this, by the way.
No, but the hadith states that shaitans run around during Maghrib.
Run away, no. That's
close the
one,
window and doors. That's the hadith.
Yes.
But there wasn't understanding. So it's like, you just follow ni. So if you question that, because last time I saw a question like on one of the comments, it's how do you, if you were to question on a perspective or analytical part, like doesn't tak logic but you will be asked to just keep quiet and follow. So that's the tough part, in my opinion. So when you come out with the proof, like just now, the brother MJ said, right, you came out with the proof that actually ada hadith, but the hadith only focuses on when it's Maghrib, close your windows and doors. That's correct. But then there's no relation to kena on lampu that shaitans run away or all that.
That's an addition.
You see where? So I would say this, when my ideology changed, when I started to learn about religion properly, because last time was all about following and not understanding, that I started to lose friends. I did that, and these are Muslims. Started to lose friends along the way, family members who couldn't agree, but it's actually us following the Quran and Sunnah. And but like I said, it's embedded in society that we are supposed to follow a certain way, especially if we are living in this country. There's no two ways about it. Yeah, so that's, I think, the bigger challenge. I think if we go further, we want to discuss this, then we can go head on.
Okay. Thank you, Subhanallah. Thank you for sharing, brother. I just also want to add, what I mean, the takeaway for the first point is, don't let society norms kind of justify how you should behave and everything, but it's also it should really come from your personal journey of your personal faith with God, and you also require yourself to do your own studying of the religion. Why are you even in this religion? I believe we all are from Asian parenthood, so even for me, even though I wasn't Muslim back then, the teaching style is pretty much the same, which is like, if you don't do this, you go to hell, or you do this, you go to hell, or actually my parents are quite okay lah. I'm trying to say is like, that is Asian parenthood, right? They take the cane and they'll cane you if you're a naughty boy. So in that sense, we fail to understand why certain things we are supposed to do. So in the future, I guess as a good advice, I think we all should learn more about the reason behind the things we do, so that we perform it with understanding of why we do those things. So what is the second struggle that you all face as born Muslim? Is it about cultural differences? Do you feel that maybe an Indian Muslim and a Malay Muslim and Pakistani Muslim or whatever, your cultural is part of the struggle that you face to be united or anything?
To be honest, for the second point, no, not in Malaysia. Muslims, I think, generally speaking, cultural-wise, pretty much integrated, whether you are Indian Muslim or Malay Muslim or even Chinese Muslim. Okay, so it's of course, everyone is under the ambit of Melayu. Okay, so everyone is considered to be Melayu. That's the only thing. That's the only difference. Okay, yeah. But other than that, I mean, cultural-wise, I don't think we have issues. Even Muslims from other countries, if they mix around with the local population, there shouldn't be any. There aren't any issues that I know of. Yeah.
What about Brother Hafiz?
Personally, I don't find any issue with that. I think
Mm-hmm.
generally, I mean, yes, I don't like the term like Indian Muslim, Chinese Muslim. It annoys the crap out of me lah, because we are all Muslims, can. So why the need to call each other Chinese, Indian, all praying to the
Mm-hmm.
same God? I mean, I was approached once in the mosque after I prayed, after I led the prayer. Somebody asked me, are you like apa, are you like Salafi or Sunni or whatever? Then I just look at the guy, I'm like, I'm a Muslim, what else you want from me? Then then I just walked away.
Oh,
So
That's the
these kind
best
of
answer.
things lah. I mean, for racial wise, culture wise, not so much for
Mm.
me lah. I don't face that issue. Maybe because I also speak Malay, so it's
Mm.
accepted that I'm like a Malay also. If I
Mm-hmm.
speak Tamil, maybe I don't know.
I see.
Sometimes it's like that. Like because if you look at it, like the classes that are available in Singapore, example, are very skewed towards it's more to for the Malays lah. The degrees, the diplomas, a lot of them are in the Malay language.
Mm.
But if
Mm.
you are being secular and more open, then I think it should be in all languages lah, for everyone to benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally feel that it's a handicap for myself as a revert because I don't know how to speak or understand Malay very well. When I go for Friday prayers, the khutbah is in Malay, and I will have to refer to the PDF in English on my
oh.
phone.
Actually,
But it,
I find that weird rather, because when I was in Singapore, the khutbah, I went for Jumu'ah at least 2 or 3 times. The khutbah were in English, and for me that was weird because I've all this while in Malaysia I've been listening to it in Malay. So when I was in Singapore and I went to the mosque and it's in English, I
Mhm.
got kind of a culture shock at the time. Yeah, because
uh,
wasn't used to listening to the khutbah in English. Yeah.
I see. Yes, I guess it's right to feel like a bit odd lah, because in your country you have majority Malay, so
Yes.
the khutbah is in Malay.
Yeah.
What I find strange, because maybe from a Christian background before, when I go to church, we have the sermons all in English. I think for the reason of doing it so that whatever race you are, when you attend a church service, you understand what the guy is saying lah. And because Singapore, our first language, of course, the native language of Singaporeans are actually supposed to be Malay, the national language, but of course they use English as a way to
I think for all practical purposes, your national language is English lah. I mean, that's what I see lah. My observation. I know.
No,
I
no,
know
no.
that.
Now these
I
people
know.
think the
I,
national language is Chinese.
yeah.
Okay.
but the thing is, because when I was in Singapore, I know that the four languages, English, Malay, Tamil, and English, are all equally national languages. But for practical purposes, since I've been in Singapore for a month at least, so I know
Yeah.
that basically for all practical purposes, it's in English lah.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
so the way to they try to integrate all the different races. Of course, they use one common language, which is English,
Yes. Yes.
to so that we can all understand each other.
Yeah,
But still,
I think it's perfectly fine because yeah, I think English is a neutral language. So if it's in Malay, then
mhm,
you'll be seen as similar to Malaysia and Indonesia, and I think that goes against your national identity of sorts lah, I would say.
yeah,
So English is a much more neutral language to be chosen lah. You can't choose Chinese either or Mandarin because that will be a slant to another different race, or Tamil, right? Even though they're all equally national languages in your
yeah.
constitution. So English is the best lah. I think best solution for you. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I truly agree. So, yeah, like inshallah, but now it's actually improving. I mean, the khutbah now have English. Like you say, you went to Singapore and you hear it in English. And inshallah, we have more different
You know, it's
languages.
very
I
weird
think,
to hear. It's very weird to hear an ayah, translated in English in a khutbah, because all this while you've been listening to it in Malay, and then suddenly you're listening to it in English. I was like, what?
mm, yeah,
So yeah, I think it's interesting to see that there are even like these ethnic kind of ghettos among Muslims, even in Muslim majority countries, right? Because in the Netherlands, it goes almost without saying that all these mosques are filled with people from their own culture who speak the language from their own culture, even during the sermons, right? So if you go to a Moroccan mosque, it's going to be
Oh.
Moroccan. If you go to Indonesian
Netherlands,
mosque,
Dutch.
yeah, in the
So
Netherlands. No,
you
so
do you use Dutch in the khutbah for the mosque there?
only in a few mosques. So not every
I
mosque
see.
does that. And
I
usually
see.
it's either Turkish or something else. So I think
Oh,
it's interesting to see the same dynamic in Muslim majority countries. I was not aware that this was the case. But yeah, interesting.
Okay,
Be-
great.
be-
Um,
yeah, okay,
I
no,
mean,
nothing.
I think there's also I wonder if there's a hindrance if we are so focused on cultural aspect of the religion, you know, because I do face certain brothers who, for example, you're Indian and you want to marry a Pakistani, and the Pakistani culture is different a bit, then the marriage kind of a bit hard because they have certain expectations. Do you face those challenges also? I mean, maybe it's also the same for, I guess, for reverts also. This is a dual challenge, I guess. So now, what is the third struggle do you guys face? Is there any clashes with Western ideologies that you have? Given that fact that we are quite in a westernized society, do you face those challenges?
I think I'm gonna go first on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think this is like the biggest for me, the biggest issue or the biggest challenge as a Muslim in today's world lah. I think we've seen it all. Just put it as what we see on our Netflix and all that, on how every series or dramas or movies are indoctrinating the LGBT stance. And on YouTube, everything, the kids are watching it, there's no control. Parents generally don't control or have not much control, although they have all the apps, but it's very difficult to really control the things kids watch that will shape a new generation of scholars, asatizas, everything. It's going to affect. Really, it is, and that's the scary part. Like, I think one of the biggest challenge, like for now, right, it's telling our own kids that this is not the religion, but then what they receive online and from their pergaulan, their society and all that tells them differently. And how do we manage that? I think that's a real challenge. And we know the Western influence is very, very high. In every like country in the world, people idolize the Western ideology, even in Singapore, right? So
Yeah. So
that
some
for me,
examples, like,
yeah,
for example, some examples we have like Christmas,
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess, or
exactly.
Halloween.
Hmm.
Christmas is like it's an annual fatwa challenge every year in Malaysia. yeah,
What challenge?
to put it mildly, because each time there will be one group of Muslims who say, oh, it's fine to do it because we are doing we are in a multi-religious society, so we must respect the other culture. Then there will be another group, say, no, it's haram, it's haram, it's haram. Yeah, see, yeah, and then but the thing is, they are quite on the extremes, you see. But for me, of course, without a doubt, for me, because I partly what I'm going to say here is partly influenced by what I've studied about Christianity over 20 years, right? So basically, my position, of course, is not allowed to celebrate Christmas, but at the same time, you don't have to like be full force in the face of the other person and say, no, it's haram, 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 please don't do this. You have to do it with more hikmah, right? I mean, you have to send the message to that person that is wrong, but don't go burning people at the stake just because they disagree with you. So you must actually approach them with more hikmah. Yeah.
I
So
want to add to
that's
that. I want to
yeah.
add to that because you were saying how you don't celebrate it at the same time you don't go around and saying haram to others. My
Yeah.
concern is how asatizas today are openly wishing and celebrating it, and it
Yes.
becomes the confusion on the people who don't learn about religion. You get where I'm coming from?
Yes, I do.
Like
I do.
today you
Actually,
see,
we have this in Malaysia, so we do
yeah,
have
you
this.
open your IG and then they are all celebrating and like I'm like, if you want to, you don't have to do that. And that's where the confusion, like I said, these kind of
Yes.
clashes really happen on our
Yes.
streets
But
lah.
are there really asatizas celebrating Christmas? So I mean, I get the whole like, okay, asatizas wishing other people Christmas, because of it's their celebration. But I don't really see them celebrating. Are there actually asatizas celebrating Christmas?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I have never. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen them wishing, you know, um, you know, wishing other people like, Merry Christmas, have a good holiday, but I haven't actually seen them celebrating it though.
Celebrating mean in what sense? Like you have a Christmas tree in the
Yeah, maybe
house.
Hafiz, you wanna like
So that
elaborate?
one
Like,
is
what
just
do you
Mo
mean?
Salah lah. He had a Christmas tree in his house and the whole internet went on a meltdown. You know Mo Salah, the Egyptian player.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the football. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 No, I'm just saying. I wouldn't say celebrating means we go on a party with them lah. Yeah, because my office is also predominantly a non-Muslim office. I'm the only Muslim in my whole entire workspace. So you don't. I mean, I personally feel there's no reason to do certain things, but sometimes it feels that because of the pressure of like society, then Satizas go one step further to do other things. I can't elaborate this so much, but I'm just saying that there are some who goes above and beyond to make sure this Christmas thing is happening. Yeah, like to be so inclusive that you need to do so much, which I don't think you really need. Yeah.
So to be so inclusive to the point where you lose your own personal identity,
Yeah.
and also because it might be traversing over certain boundaries that your religion do not allow you to do so lah. So I guess there has to be a line drawn, maybe a common understanding or a reasoning has to happen where you explain why you don't do it, or but of course not out to hurt someone. Have to give wisdom in why you not do it. So I guess the onus is on us as Muslims also to learn why we don't do it.
Yes,
Yeah, I
exactly,
think, I mean,
exactly.
I see where you're coming from. Hafiz, in terms of like going above and beyond, because yes, I have seen some of our satizas who are who have been into the churches and actually sharing sort of the quote unquote spirit of Christmas and things like that, because they want to portray a certain image of inclusivity, like being inclusive, like we are not against you, technically we are brothers in faith because we hold on to the same Abrahamic roots, right? And I can see that as a problem because it blurs certain lines, and especially for children who actually see this as growing up, they might think that, oh, it's actually okay and normal, and if they are not anchored enough in their own
Iman and faith.
that it might sway them somewhat as they are growing up. So I can see that as a problem, but also at the same time I see their perspective of wanting to bridge or portray like a
a society of harmony and
like I see both sides. So I think there is pros and cons to coming from both sides. So I think at the end of the day it comes back down to, I guess, how the child is actually being brought up in the household, because I'm feeling it a lot more now because I have a son, right? And naturally all these LGBT movements and things like that, and even the most recent news, I don't know whether you guys have read it, but this was actually on our Berita Harian. There were some initiatives from some of our religious teachers in Singapore, fronting conversations with the LGBT community. I don't know exactly what is the goal they're trying to actually achieve, whether the purpose is to make them included in the society or to actually be an avenue for them to actually reach out to. That part is not clear, but it was actually splashed all over the news saying that we are having conversations with this community, and that was very worrying to me. I had a lot of question marks in my head. I was like, okay, are we pushing boundaries here? To me that felt like, because
on dangerous ground.
Yeah, we are really treading on dangerous grounds when it comes to this, because especially like what Brother Hafiz has just shared, that it's very prominent on Netflix or on YouTube, this whole LGBT movement, and things like that. So I know it's a very sensitive topic, right? I for one, I don't discriminate, but I think in Islam there is black and white, and when it comes to LGBT, the stance is very clear. It's black and white. There's no gray. Okay, this I'm very clear, right?
Yeah.
But for the new, our younger generation who's growing up, because we were brought up in a generation where this was not a very big thing, we were brought up thinking, I mean, our parents, we know that this is black and white, there's no gray. But because of whatever that's happening in the media right now and all these things, it it does concern me that, our child
We
might,
are normalizing things
yeah,
that
to a
was
point.
previously very clear to us. That is
Mm,
what is black and what is white, what is right and what is wrong.
yeah,
We normalize it too much, it becomes gray.
it becomes gray. And then, like, okay, like, so how then do we deal with this? So I think this is more of a struggle of today versus
Can
the
I add
struggle.
to what you said, because what you
Mm,
Yes.
said really summarized it quite well. So I just want to
mm,
add, like, recently, like last year, Christmas happened, right? So my opposite my mom's house is a Chinese family, so they were Christians.
mm,
So they gave gifts to my daughter during Christmas. So we accepted the gift,
mm,
and then my daughter naturally wanted to buy something for the neighbor because she likes that kid. So we went out and we gave the gift. We bought the gift for them, but not
mm,
on the pretense or pretext of Christmas.
mm,
What we thought our kid Nusaiba was that giving a gift is also a sunnah to make people happy.
mm,
So I think that's where my gripe is, that the way we portray all these like
mm,
celebration as something inclusive and common, it may blur the line for kids to understand that actually
mm.
giving gifts is already a sunnah. What more do you need from there? Yeah, so that's the point I'm trying to make lah, in that sense.
Mm.
So you
So
should give all the time, not
yeah,
just during a particular celebration.
correct. You should have that. Not during like birthdays or whatever celebration that you have. You can teach the kids
And
something in there lah, rather than enforcing or showing inclusivity by, okay,
mm,
that, like what you said, splashing on the papers. This is going to create the wrong mindset or image for our Muslim society as
impression.
well. Impression as well. Yeah,
Mm,
And also, we need to be very clear on the difference between a cultural celebration and a religious one.
exactly.
For example, Chinese New Year is a cultural one. There's no God in there. We don't believe in
Correct.
anything.
I
It's
agree
just a
with you.
cultural one.
Yeah,
Birthday, that maybe is a Western culture one. I don't know. Maybe
yeah.
last time our parents don't celebrate birthday. I don't know. Maybe they just say, "Here's something for you." There's nothing, no cake, no candle, or whatever. So, but I think over time, as we are more exposed to a global world society, we tend to want to include everything, and we kind of forget our origins, our natural heritage, I guess. So
mm.
I guess there has to be a certain line drawn, and of course we also need to be aware of what is originally ours and what we can't blur those lines. Anything to add, brothers? Or we shall move on to the next part.
Mm. Nothing much
No?
to add for me. Yeah, it's pretty much.
Okay,
I
cool.
think you pretty much said it all. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so next one, what about misinformation? Do you think that is a struggle you face as I guess it's for both, right? Reverts and born Muslims. We face the struggle of misinformation of what Islam is. Ever since 9/11, even then I wasn't a Muslim, but the media have created this whole hype on, terrorist Muslim, Islam, terrorist, Islamic terrorists, and then you start to draw the neural pathways of connection between these two, Islam terrorist, Muslim terrorist, you know. So you start to
Al
generalize.
Qaeda, ISIS, everything, all that,
Yeah,
Jamaah Islamiyah, JI, whatever, all that, all
exactly.
Islam.
So you
Yeah,
start to
yeah.
generalize everything to a point that you start to see Islam as a terrorist organization sometimes. But we fail to ask ourselves the questions like, if all Muslims were terrorists, right? Then your neighbors in Singapore, jialat already. Everyone Malay, everyone who's a Muslim, can potentially be one, right? So it's so dangerous to see such propagation in the media when there's no clear line drawn. What is Islam? Who are the extremists? What are extreme thinkings? In fact, extremism is everywhere. You can find it, not in just in Islam, right? Anything to add on that point, brothers and sisters? Why?
Wow.
Maybe I can say a bit. Basically, in media wise in Malaysia, we don't have that problem. I think, Alhamdulillah, because yeah, controlled by Muslims. But on the internet, on the internet, it's a free flow. Okay, even though the media at that time, at that particular point of time, was controlled by the government of sorts, but on the internet, for certain Malaysian liberal sites like Malaysia Kini, Free Malaysia Today, FMT, and I think there was another one called Malaysian Insider, yeah, TMI, and this Malay, now it's Malay Mail, the Malay Mail. So these liberal Malaysian sites, they try to copy the media in the West. They try to give a bad impression to Islam lah. And Malaysians being the nasty people they are online, you can see the free flow of comments, especially for non-Muslims when it comes to Islam. Okay, they don't do that dare to do this openly. Okay, that's the thing. But on this kind of websites, because they have the freedom to say whatever they want, they let go lah. Okay, and on Facebook you see this also in Malaysian media. So the thing is, when these comments are free flowing and not moderated or whatsoever. So of course, those people, people sincere non-Muslims who don't know anything about Islam, they'll come across these comments and they will be influenced by it. You see, so it's like it's like throwing a stone in the lake, and then there's a ripple effect. So that is why, one of the reasons why I took up apologetics is because of this, because I saw the ripple effect, what it can affect, and I feel that as a Muslim I need to do something about it. Yeah.
I guess the fight against misinformation and basically dispelling all this kind of misinformation. Anything else that? What about social acceptance? I guess this is part of identity crisis, right? Which we just earlier on discussed. You want to be accepted by society. You want to feel a need to belong. So I guess that's the struggle that you face. What about finding a partner? Is there any challenge for that as a born Muslim? I mean,
No, I don't.
no?
To be honest, no, not in Malaysia.
Okay.
It's trying to find a partner.
Okay, I mean, there's some people who find that I need to only marry Muslim because I'm a Muslim. They have that kind of thinking. I cannot find a non-Muslim, explain about Islam. Maybe inshallah they got hidayah.
The thing is, well, I had the thought of marrying a non-Muslim, bringing her to Islam or whatever. But as fate would have it, I married a born Muslim. But incidentally, her father was a revert, so I guess that's a bonus, Okay, so it's okay lah. Yeah.
By the way, reverts also produce born Muslims, right?
Yeah, true.
Technically.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah, I think okay, maybe just to add on to this point, struggle of finding a partner who is a Muslim. I don't think it comes up as a criteria. It's kind of like okay lah, definitely you have to marry a Muslim, right? Like if you're born a Muslim, definitely you marry a Muslim. At least for me lah. Yeah. So I think people know that when we first met, like we didn't see much possibility of us being together.
Yeah. In
Because,
fact, I told you,
Yeah,
right, that I won't be with you because you're Muslim.
so you see, that's a struggle.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's not a struggle. That was just. I mean, I think it's a very, it's a topic that is actually quite an interesting topic to be discussed. But I think the struggle was mainly to find a guy who can probably guide you in that sense. Because so the narrative has always been like, okay, marry a man who can guide you to the path of God, right? And sometimes you meet guys who don't really practice the religion. They're born Muslims, but they don't really practice it, right? And then maybe you go on a journey together and maybe you find your path and eventually you practice it together. But so I think the struggle is just, yeah.
Oh, okay, get it. There's this expectation.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
for example, let's say I'm going to marry her, and then her parents would think, oh, you're a revert lah, your iman not that high maybe, but not her parents lah. I'm just saying, some guys are saying that, oh, because I'm a revert, I'm new, so like, how am I going to lead her in Islam because I am just new, like a newborn baby, right?
Yeah.
Whereas they would prefer their daughters to marry someone who is a born Muslim because that Muslim has, all the knowledge that he's accumulated over the years.
So my interesting story. So my mom said, I actually asked this question to my parents when I was a lot younger. What if I end up with a Chinese dude or a non-Muslim dude? And my mom said, you better not lah. You already like that. You still want to get yeah. So I was like, okay. So that's where they stand. But I think I know where they're coming from because, I do have. I know of certain people who actually get married for the purpose and they actually revert for the purpose of for the marriage. So and I think my parents are also aware of such situations. So I think they don't want me to go into that.
Yeah.
They don't want me to end up like that. So I hear where they're coming from. But yeah, it is a struggle. I do have friends who are born Muslim women, and sometimes these conversations come up and they're like, no, I won't marry somebody who is not a Muslim or not born a Muslim because I need someone to guide me. So this is the between women, this is sometimes what we talk about as well. Like, I cannot see myself with a non-Muslim guy.
Guess what the guys are talking about? I guess the guys are saying, I need to marry a Muslim woman because they are purer and
I have a question about that.
Am I right, guys? Huh? I'm
Yeah, I
right
have
to say
a
that.
question about that. I'm not a born Muslim, right? So I was wondering because sometimes I hear these conversations between born Muslims, right? They're like, okay, I'm not gonna marry a woman if she's not a virgin or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but where does it say this in the Sunnah or that, is this culture? Is it culture that's getting in the way of practicing the faith, or because also race comes into play with this, right? I'm not gonna marry someone who's darker skinned, maybe. This problem seems to be prevalent among some ethnicities.
Some communities.
So, yeah, right. So do you think this ties in with confusing culture with faith, or is it a different problem?
Yeah, I guess it's a lot of cultural also, and we don't have this term called racism in the past. Maybe people don't know that it's called racist now. They just think that there's this thing that they think that, oh, you're different culture, different heritage, different history, so you won't understand the experiences and things that we go through. But I personally feel that the reason why I would, if let's say I was born a Muslim, okay, let's example I born a Muslim, why would want to marry someone who want to be a Muslim and is and born Muslim? Okay, what I'm trying to say again is the reason why they will marry someone who is a Muslim, whether you are previously not a Muslim and become a Muslim, or whether you are born a Muslim, the reason why we choose a partner who is a Muslim is because we want to have a similar vision of working towards the hereafter together. And when you have a similar religious grounding together, you can then guide your children as well. Can you imagine if one of the parent is not a Muslim? Let's say the father is a Muslim, mother is not a Muslim, okay, and then you want to lead the solar, you want to pray, and the non-Muslim would sit at the back and not join you in prayer because they don't believe in what you do, right? So how would the child feel that maybe the mom is not with the husband in the prayer? How do you again on a dinner table tell a child, oh, Muslims, we don't eat this because it's haram, it's a babi, it's pork. But then the other partner who is a non-Muslim can eat that. So there's going to be a lot of family kind of struggles, and I think it is out of this wisdom that even God says it clearly that this is to help you to unite together as a family better, and therefore finding a partner who's of similar faith and are able to walk this journey with you in life together has more blessings in that sense because you have lesser fight, conflicts, struggles, and unite the family, better. Yeah, that's my opinion on this matter. What do you guys think?
I think it's
Yeah.
true, right? Because a Muslim man for Muslim women, it's logical lah, to do something that maybe is not the same religion, may not resonate with everybody. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I going back to like, oh, this girl must be a virgin, and I think that one is nonsense.
Yeah.
Because as long you are Muslim and you repent and you want to be better, I think that's fine.
Right.
But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of like how to find a partner because I was matchmade. So I just accepted what my ustaz recommended to me. So
Mm.
that's another
Faham.
story lah. But just matchmade
It's
was easy.
interesting.
I didn't have
Mhm.
to spend time dating, so saved a lot of money.
Yeah, because dating is haram.
We
Saved a
might
lot of
have another topic called arranged
yeah,
marriages,
saved a
types
lot
of
of
marriages.
time, money, whatever, and then just go, hey, oh, it's time to get married that week. Okay, let's get married. Macam gitulah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think yeah,
mm,
I heard this a lot. Like, oh, if my girlfriend's not a virgin, how do I can I get married to her? I'm like, apa sih? What kind of mindset is that?
yeah. Honestly, every one of us, whether born or not born Muslim, we all should start from the beginning again. I guess start learning the religion, knowing everything, and appreciating the beauty of Islam and sharing it with others. Then you can drop all those expectations because every time our iman is fluctuating, right? And we are being tested constantly. So you might be very pious today, tomorrow you might not be. So then how? Correct. So we all have to always have this start from zero, we start again. We keep embracing Islam, following the Sunnah, following the Hadith, following the Quran. Yeah.
How come only women have to be virgin? Men don't need. How come this one doesn't come up? How come
I don't
women
know.
only?
Western society
How come
created this thing.
how come men don't need to be virgin?
I don't know. Maybe Western society created this.
Nobody asked, right? Your husband virgin or not?
Yeah.
Nobody asked this question. I don't know why.
It's probably from Jahil times, right? So
Yeah.
But
All
this
right. So we
virgin
move on
thing
to
is
the
huge
next
in the
one.
Arab community, right? It's crazy,
Mm.
If you read up in the Arab community how they classify virgins and not, and then they can really throw you
Classification.
aside and all that. It's crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. So back to your point.
No problem. No problem. So what about finding food? Do you find it a struggle as born Muslim? I guess both born and reverts find
No lah.
halal food.
Singapore, no lah.
To be honest, no lah, no, not in Malaysia
Yeah, in
lah.
Malaysia,
Malaysian,
nothing
Definitely
yeah.
not in Malaysia lah. Okay, but I was in
Singapore also not
Taiwan.
lah. Actually, Singapore
Yeah,
now getting
It's
better.
yeah,
not really a struggle to
yeah.
find food,
No,
I
not a
guess.
struggle at
Hey,
all.
Iskander,
Not a struggle lah, not a struggle lah.
Right. I'm so jealous.
confirm you.
Actually, last time I went to a Chinese Surinamese restaurant, and Surinamese food has a lot of Javanese kind of influences, right? So a lot of it is halal. So on the front of the store it said halal, and then I went in and I asked, what courses here are halal? And they said, yeah. What do you mean? What is halal? I was like, why do you put it on the front if you don't know what it is? Anyway, but that's it's a struggle because a lot of our restaurants are mixed. So they sell babi, but they also sell halal stuff. So I'm like,
I
how
like
do
how
I
we
know
do.
which is
Oh
Babi,
my
babi
god.
halal. Babi halal.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
halal pork.
I think certain restaurants in Indonesia too, right? If I'm not wrong,
Indo, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The kitchen might be mixed a bit, right?
Yeah.
You need to double confirm.
Yeah. But
They also
maybe
sell alcohol sometimes.
mostly in Indo it's mainly halal. We just assume it's halal anyway, because
Yeah,
Indonesia is
yeah.
a Muslim majority country.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but the thing is, Indonesians, even most Indonesians, they don't practice the religion also. You see, that's the problem. Yeah.
Okay, so next point. I believe, you can find this unity in every community, right? So in Islam, of course, you still have people who disagree and then they end up arguing and they cannot get together. Is that a struggle that you face?
Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Okay, struggle, for example, varying opinions, what's halal and haram. Is it stopping you as an ummah to become better? Become more mature up and accept different opinions and that
Are you
people have.
thinking about the intra-sectarian debates, because there's a lot in Malaysia at the moment? You cannot do this. I mean, because you don't, some people say, you cannot do the maulid, right? For me, yeah, I do accept the opinion that is wrong. But some there will be another group that says, maulid is you must do the maulid, otherwise you can't be a better Muslim, for example. And then certain practices like these practices are all from to me these are not not in the sunnah. Okay, but the thing is, yeah, there's a huge debate on this. Right now the talk, I think Ustaz Hafiz will familiar, sifat 20, the 20 attributes of God versus Tauhid, versus the three parts of Tauhid by Syekh Muhammad Ibn Wahab. So now everyone is arguing about this or sifat 20 is important. You must understand God only through sifat 20. If you don't understand the sifat 20, you're kafir. So this kind of debates come up. Okay, so that's the issue we face here. I mean, some Muslims face here in Malaysia. Okay, for me personally, I don't try to get involved in it. So I just I just believe in the Quran and Sunnah, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so your solution is to not get involved in it. So what
Yeah.
about anyone? Do you have a better solution as how we can, maybe Brother Hafiz can share us, as an ustad, how do we overcome this, this unity? How can we unite then?
I think first and foremost, if everyone has respect to each other's belief, then that would be the first step. But unfortunately, that one is hard to come by. Because like I said before, many of our maybe older generations, they have been embedded with a certain form of belief, and it's deep inside their belief system that they have to carry out certain rituals to satisfy the need of the religion. So just give a quick example, like for so long, this happens in Nusantara je, means Malaysia, Singapore, probably Brunei and Indonesia lah. So the act of reading Yasin on every Thursday nights, right? Have you heard of
Oh,
this?
that's a favorite. Yes, of course, of course.
This I
Yeah,
never heard
yeah.
before.
This,
Oh, this one
yeah,
popular.
this is
So
so, yeah. This is so very much a debate in Malaysia as well.
so what I did once with my friend in Masjid Al Khair back then when I was volunteering there, we tried to change it. What we did was we read Surah Al Mulk instead after Maghrib. We changed the whole system. And I tell you, after that, the WhatsApp came in. Everybody was bombarding the mosque. Like, why do you read Al Mulk? We all brought
I'm
the
not
Yasin
surprised.
book. Blah blah blah.
I'm totally unsurprised.
So we tried to push the barrier a bit, and of course we got flagged for it, and then it go back to Yasin the next week. so, so because you see the things that society have been taught from yesteryears may not be true. Like why? So I go and find out why our culture like to read Yasin so much. Everything also read Yasin. Got kenduri arwah, read Yasin. Got birthday also read Yasin. Don't know why Yasin. So then I find out there's actually a hadith.
It's a Nusantara obsession now with Surah
Yeah, but
Yasin.
you
I
know
don't know why.
there is a hadith that actually states Yasin is the jantung of the Quran,
Yeah,
the
it's the heart of the
heartbeat of
Quran.
the
Yes,
Quran.
yes.
But
I think it has
Firdaus, don't
been
be shocked. This is
misinterpreted.
actually hadith da'if lah. Da'if jiddan
Mm,
means very weak. So it's
yeah.
not counted as a form
So
of
it's
ibadah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it has
Yeah.
been embedded lah. So when you want to make
Mm,
change, then there's big problems because everybody don't want to change. So if you look at it, okay, just put into Singapore context, and this is my personal view lah. So Singapore context, even our religious body states clearly that they want to follow the Yemeni traditions of things, which in my opinion is already not correct. Right?
Yeah.
Because you want a more inclusive society, you want Muslims to be pushing each other to be better, and you already put a yardstick. This is how we're going to perform our religion. And I think that one a bit tough lah kan to maneuver. But if it's the point that it's okay, you want to follow the sunnah, we'll support you. You want to do this, we'll let it be. Then I think that would create a better understanding of each other. Because now, let's say example very quickly anyone who follows the sunnah, or we try to follow the sunnah as close as possible, you already get one label on your forehead.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep,
Do
Wahhabi.
you get it? Yeah. Definitely you
Wahhabi.
Wahhabi, Salafi, or
You know
whatever.
the joke. Usually when people starts calling me that, I just say wasabi wujud bila makan. I'll just say that. If you try and equate it with the Arabic, you understand.
Yeah. So it's like that lah.
Subhanallah, we got a brother. He is the TikTok guy, the Muslim Revert, Brother Wong. He said that there have been ustad who got fired just because he don't want to perform weird actions that were not in
So
accordance
I'll
with
share.
Sunnah. Is it
It
true?
happens in Singapore. It's like that. Oh my god. Okay, so I just gonna
Yeah.
say in this
How
country
come get
it's like
fired?
that. They
But
will
why
be
you get fired just because you want to follow something?
because you don't follow what they want you to follow.
Mhm.
You get it? So example, there was once an asatiza who was very loud on going against the LGBT community. There was a
Mhm.
pink dot movement back then. Then he had this wear white movement, and that was one of the most beautiful things that he did. This asatiza, and that Ramadan, everybody was wearing white jubah, white clothes, white hijab to go to the masjid during that Ramadan period. I think it was maybe a good 7-8 years ago, if I'm not wrong. But
Mhm.
that asatiza is no more in Singapore. Yeah, he's
Oh,
now in Malaysia because he's ARS. Wallahu alam.
okay.
Oh, it's in
Yeah.
Malaysia. Do you have his name? Do I know him?
Do
Is he
you are
famous?
you staying are you staying in Johor?
No, but I have connections with Johor. Yeah, if I know.
Ustaz
Yeah.
Ustaz Noderus. You can check him out.
Oh my God, Ustaz Noor Daros. Of course I know him. Aki, yes.
Bila kan?
Aki, I know who Ustaz Noor Daros is. Come on, I know him. I know him.
So he's
He's
one
I
of
think, yeah, he's now based in. He's actually now based in KL. Sorry,
he's
based
very
in Kedah.
prominent.
Kedah,
He's a
Kedah.
prominent fighter for all
Yeah,
this.
he's,
The
he's in
dinar
Kedah now.
dirham concept and all that.
He's in
Mashallah.
Kedah now. He's in Kedah,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's in Kedah now. Yeah.
I
Yeah. So
think
see
this
there
is
there are a few cases lah. So we just like in a way, if you want to maintain your relationship well, or you want to maintain your whatever in Singapore, you have to conform lah.
I think this comment is by Ethan. Very nice. I don't care you're Salafi, Wahhabi,
Yeah,
just respect others. I think just call ourselves Muslims.
yeah,
Just do the
Muslims. At
Sunnah,
the
the
end of the day,
Quran, you're
Yeah.
Muslim. Finish.
you believe in Allah,
Uh,
you follow
no,
the
like if
Prophet,
anyone asks
then
me
you're
what
Muslim.
my beliefs are, I just say I'm a Muslim. Yeah.
Yeah,
But if they want me to get specific, then I'll say I'm someone who follows the manhaj salaf. That's it, and follow the sunnah. That's it. I don't go into specifics. I do have people I know who try to get me engaged into this Sufi Salafi debate things. I just say no. I'm sorry, I'm not interested. That's it. End of the story. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because I
All
don't
right.
think
So
it's
next class. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
because sorry, yeah. Anyway, because I don't think it's beneficial to the ummah if we go into this kind of disputes. You see, the enemy is out there,
Definitely.
not in here. You see, yeah.
Okay. We are now down to the last 2 points. Okay. Living in a heavily secularized society, is it a challenge? I guess it's a challenge to both Muslims, born Muslims, and reverts. Maybe you guys can give an example of a struggle in a heavily secularized society. Do you have an example? Maybe you want to share? Anybody can go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think Malaysia wise, I think because outwardly we don't call ourselves secular, right? Because yeah, lah, I mean, people will go around say, oh, Malaysia is a Muslim majority country. We reject secularism, etc. Blah blah blah. But the problem is the system is secular. You see, that's the problem. And certain things we do can be seen as secular. You see, so So for example, for example, governance, governance. Yeah, we have Islamic courts and everything, but is it in line with the Sharia? You see, so is it so it's secularized. It's we only have the Muslim penal code, but what about the hood, the heart, right? So many things, many issues with how Malaysia is run as a community. You go into the community, you will find that Muslims here they claim to profess Islam, but they themselves they just know they just know Islam is limited to just prayer, puasa, fasting, and zakat, and maybe go to the Hajj. That's it, and it ends there. You don't want to go delve further than that. You see, for them, just practicing this is enough to make you a Muslim. But for me, it's not enough. You see, for me, you need to go more than that because you need to really immerse yourself and truly understand what it means to be a Muslim. So you need to understand what is Tawheed. How are you going to, for example, if someone asks you, why do you believe in God? Why do you say God is one? Can there be two gods? Can be the three gods? Can there be God in a Trinity? So how are you going to answer that if you're just limited to just, fasting, praying, and that's it? So the problem I think is secularism in a way has made our minds, I would say, how would I put it? Has made our minds too confined to just rituals. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't go and I think that's the main issue actually with secularism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, brother. Yeah, because Islam is actually the only religion that I am aware of which has both governance in not in the spiritual realm only, but it also have governance in the dunya, the world. So he has like political, societal kind of governance, clear instructions from the Quran on how to, govern a society and so on and so forth. So our religion is why it's they say, Islam is so powerful itself is both, a religion that offers solution in this world, how you can live it correctly, and also how to prepare yourself for the hereafter. I think that's one of the most beautiful part I found out, discovered about Islam myself.
Right.
So coming to the last point, if you guys have nothing else to add to what we just said, education and job opportunities. Do you find that as a struggle being a born Muslim?
Can I just link that back to the previous one, because I think it's almost the same topic.
Okay,
Uh,
yes.
what kind of struggles people face here, right? So, I'm not a born Muslim, but what I've seen, like from when I was a kid, I saw that a lot of my Muslim friends could not go to certain celebrations that we did go to because we were a Christian school. But now they're actually taking it a step further, in that they're trying to ban religious schooling, so special schooling, so no religiously affiliated schools. So how as a Muslim or as a parent, how are you supposed to raise your kids in a school that doesn't even allow you to pray, right? And that also ties in with this, with work, finding work. Are you going to get days off on Friday to go to Juma? Yes or no? And if they don't allow it, how are you going to negotiate this? I think this is like such a fundamental, and this is just one aspect, right? There's so many similar problems. I think this is same for reverts or born Muslims, but I think for born Muslims, the education part gets tagged on top. But I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah. Go ahead, brothers. Hey, do you feel what the brother Iskandar just shared? Do you feel that society itself, is causing a strain on you practicing your faith, like Friday prayers, for example, you just mentioned, in a secularized society? In Singapore, I believe, the government has already said that we are free to practice our faith as long as, we just inform our company we are Muslims, and Friday you have to do our Friday prayers is mandatory. And then they usually won't go against that. So do you face those challenges? I don't know. Malaysia, of course, no lah.
No, alhamdulillah, no lah. But the thing is, you see, for Jumaat, I haven't gone to the mosque for 2 years already. Truth be told, the reason why is because when they do the solar, they need to. There's this SOP where you need to separate this. So there is this hadith where the Prophet actually bars this, right? So I firmly believe that in this hadith that you cannot do this. So that is why I stayed away from the mosque. Yeah. This has become, in fact, a topic of discussion in Malaysia. So there are some people who actually say you must go to the mosque, doesn't matter. Some people say no, you cannot because of the hadith. So another clash of views again. So another intersectarian debate again, which I don't want to get involved in. All I know is you can't, and that's it. So I do the zuhur at home. That's it. End of story. Yeah.
I see. Okay, one of the comments from our audience is here, says that in Belgium they are banning religious slaughter, which is banning them from slaughtering make halal food for the Muslims.
Mhm.
Oh,
It's
that's quite a
actually-
challenge.
It's the same here, because they're claiming that it's inhumane to do halal slaughter, so they have to stun the animal before they kill it. But when you stun an animal, there's a chance that it dies. So it dies before you slaughter it, and then of course it's not halal because it's dead meat, right? Yeah. So these problems, they're very prevalent in Europe, and they're only becoming more prevalent since France is leading the way, right? Banning hijabs in educational institutions, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I'm just wondering how your countries deal with that and how we move forward from this.
I think we are very fortunate to be in a multicultural society. Singapore being around, other Muslim countries also, so we kind of, accepted that there's a certain practices that we have as Muslims, and therefore they don't really put a lot of problems, obstacles for us. But then again, there's also a mental pseudo kind of obstacle, so that we face. For example, in the military, you won't see high positions people being taken by particular people. So yeah. Anything there, brother Hafiz? It looked like, oh, you want to say something? You look like you got something to say.
I look like this. No, I
Like,
don't have nothing to say.
Okay. Brother Hafiz, is it something you want to say as
No,
well? Sorry.
I think I shared with you personally during the dinner that time about what goes on in this heavily secularized with our religious body and all that, right? I think you should remember that lah. So
Yeah.
I think at the end, at the same time, like I think the biggest concern that I have is because of my child and how I want to navigate this secularized country with my child. I think that's the biggest concern. Like now, Belgium's banning this. It is going to. There's always a ripple effect because one country believes in it, then others say, "Hey, yeah, it's actually quite true. Slaughtering is inhumane. I want to adopt that to my society." Right.
Mm.
So it's gonna happen. Like if I were to touch a bit on like the LGBT issue, back then, like we know Asian countries is very against it. Like it's not part of the Asian subculture to accept LGBT at any point of time. But now we see it, it's okay. You know, it's really okay already. It's very accepted within society and all that. But and it goes because it's a ripple effect lah. Everywhere else is accepting it, so we are tasked to accept it also. So that's my issue. Like I think just a quick one. I remembered some a good friend of mine shared how there were some books in preschool. I saw a comment one of this lady put a comment about LGBT being inducted in preschool right now in Singapore. Subtly. Yeah, there's a
Mm.
book called I Have Two Mummies
Oh,
in a preschool.
Oh.
goodness.
So now we at home, we and as a group discussing, oh, this is how we should live, Quran Sunnah, blah blah blah. But yet when our children go to school, how do we as parents, manage that expectation from the child as well? I think that's why I am very worried in that sense, in this heavily secularized society.
I guess taking the advice of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi
So
wasallam, hold on to the Quran and the Sunnah like a tightrope and never let it go. That's the only thing we can say. How society is going to ban, normalize thing, change thing, and not, we can do so much. We can only say our stand and stand firm and say, oh, no, this is not accepted by our communities and society. Then again, you have a group of people who think it's okay. So, and again, end point, whoever is the society judge to say, okay, it's fine or not, it's on him to decide, right? And we only can pray that he make a good decision. But if you were to ask personal opinions and stand, of course, we have our own. End of the day, we all can only pray that our children and future generations of the Ummah is well and properly guided, inshallah.
inshallah. I mean,
Yeah.
But we should also make a concerted effort.
I think that's one of the biggest struggles. How do you bring up the future generation without, letting them be, because you teach them one thing, like what Brother Hafiz shared, right? You teach them one thing at home, they go to school and they're bombarded with all these other things. And they come home, they're like, okay, this is what my parents teach, but this is what I get outside. And naturally, as when you grow up, you always think that your parents are not the in thing, so they don't know. It's always, back to friends, what they believe in, especially during the adolescent stage, right? So I think that's a very big struggle and very, very big concern. So we can only pray that I mean, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do to protect your children. I think at the end of the day, it's really back to, first, of course, bringing them up in a certain way, and inculcating certain values and teaching them what's right and what's wrong. But there's only so much you can do to protect your children, right? So it's really back to relying on God for Him to actually, take care of things.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's really only so much we can do, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. And anyone wants to add to that point?
Actually, in Holland, there are many initiatives to get actual Islamic schools established. So they have these petitions in order to get Islamic primary schools, elementary schools, and maybe even secondary schools, right? All in order for these children to be able to avoid this secular government education. Perhaps we should make more concerted efforts in order to support initiatives like these. Of course, we should always pray for success. But yeah, just something to think about, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like, even when we talk about recycling and stuff, there are many initiatives that we have in society, and maybe one of them could be how to ensure that we maintain our iman, and certain things that communities hold on firmly to, like, we do not agree in certain things. Yeah, I guess those communities, they are pushing forward with such initiatives, we should support them. Yeah. Anything else to add, brother Hafiz or brother MENJ? No.
I think this is such a, I don't know, whenever I think about this, or whenever this topic comes up, it feels very heavy, this whole thing, like, oh no, what's going to happen to our future generation? It feels so heavy, right? But,
Yeah.
But I think it's important to not let it get to us too much,
Mhm.
because, being a Muslim, the fundamentals of it is to still cling on to hope, and that there will still be hope. And, God is all about being hopeful, right? Clinging on to his hope. So, as it seems like all these struggles are like so huge and things like that, but we have to realize that at the end of the day, it's a struggle that is put for us for a reason. And it's a struggle that came from him as well. It's not something that's just created out of nowhere. So I think if he's put us in this position to face these struggles, then I'm positive, and I am hopeful that we have the capacity to actually overcome
Yeah.
this, as as a society, as a family. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I
I
would
mean,
like. Can I
yeah.
add to that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the story of Ta'if. So I just pull back a bit of the story of Ta'if. I think the story of Ta'if, we all know that the Prophet ﷺ was being physically, mentally, emotionally hurt, abused. Yeah. So
Mm.
upon leaving Ta'if, bloodied, pain, he went to under a tree, and then he read a dua, and part of the dua said, "So as long as you are not displeased with me, I accept." That was what the Prophet said. And I think that's where we also want to go towards. Like at the end of the day,
Mm.
what sister said, like, this is our challenge, our struggle. So sometimes I take it like, yeah, I mean, I feel worried. I'm normal human being, so feel worried about your kids, your future, our iman, blah, blah, blah. But then we want to also go to like, hey, so as Allah is not displeased by us, if we have done our part in this dunya, then we hope that Allah accepts our deeds lah.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
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 It's a beautiful, mashallah.
Yeah. And I just want to add also, uh, there's a lot of things that we are normalizing in society, even before LGBT and all that. We normalize hypersexuality, right? I mean, this thing is usually quite conservative in Asian society. We don't show certain skin before. Right now, we are showing those skin, wearing lesser clothes, maybe, pornography, which is now abundantly available on the internet, pedophilia, and everything. So everything you see is like laid out on screen for you now, and easy to access, and information is like widespread. So the fitna, of course, we face is a different kind of fitna from the rest. But we always must remember from the Quran, it's mentioned that Allah will not burden us so more than it can bear. And with hardship comes ease. He didn't say after hardship comes ease. Allah said with hardship comes ease. So they are running in parallel together. It's only whether we sieve out the ease, and instead of focusing on the hardship so much. And so with that, I guess Allah gives us hope to know that with hardship comes ease, and that he doesn't burden us too much, and this life is a test for us. So I just want to say that, brothers and sisters, we might go through challenging times ahead of us, but again, our challenges will never be as great as all the prophets who have gone through their challenges. They are the most tested among mankind. And so we all can only hope and pray and do our best, to bring up our future generations as Muslim, and to hope for all of us to enter Jannatul Firdaus. I mean, so, Brother Hafiz, maybe you like to end with a closing, since you have more religious
No.
foundation.
No. I mean, I thank you guys, especially for this session. I think it's an eye opener. I think there needs to be more discourse or conversations, because we also don't know what reverts go through. We also, the real challenges. We only hear the good side of a revert story. Like, oh, mashallah, I got the hidayah, I became a Muslim. And then, wow, everybody's so enlightened for this enlightenment for a while, and then people go back to their own business. Like, but it is
Yeah.
good. It's good. Like, I think conversations like this should happen. And I think personally, it's a good session. And I look forward to hearing more stories out there that can inspire us. I think as a normal human being, and not just say Muslims, like anyone in the world needs a bit of inspiration every now and then. So
Mm.
like but if I can leave you with one surah of the Quran, I will leave you with this, because I
Okay,
think
brother,
back then
please take
what
it
happened.
away. Recite it. You did very well that day.
Right. So back then, what I realized is a lot of our religious style of teaching was a lot of fear mongering. And I shared with you that I don't know if I shared with you. I can't remember that I went to church once with a sister, with a youth who wanted to convert to Christianity from a Muslim. So then I realized how powerful the way the church delivered their message, and that was for me the eye opener. So instead of fear mongering, it was more to being more loving to each other. God is loving. Of course, too much of it, it's not good also lah kan. It's like drugs kan. But I'm just saying that finding that balance was very important lah. So
My,
one
my
of the
sorry, to add on to your point of that loving, my ustad used to say, right? You must imagine yourself as a salesman. Okay, you have a
I
very
am a
good
salesman though.
salesman
Okay, sorry.
who, between a Muslim salesman and a Christian salesman, right? I think the Christian ones, when it goes with love, oh, you say yes, I want to buy the product.
Yes, exactly. You are sold to the product. Okay, so I love this ayat. It's Surah Furqan ayat 70. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Illa man taba wa amana wa amila amalan salihan فأولئك يبدل الله سيئاتهم حسنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما. So in this ayat, Allah SWT said, and as for those who repent, believe, and do good deeds, they are the ones whose evil deeds Allah will change into good deeds. And for Allah is the most forgiving and the most merciful. So, mashallah, this ayat is something that I hold on to, especially because as a Muslim, we always struggle with our deen, and we always like are involved with sins, right? No matter what. So this ayat is a reminder of the love of Allah to the servants himself. So Allah said, if you repent, you believe, you do good deeds, I will replace your bad deeds into good deeds. That's amazing, because there's no ayat in the Quran that says if you do bad, he will take your good deeds and change into dosa, and then becomes bad deeds. But this is one ayat Quran that talks about you take your bad deeds and I will flip it into good deeds. Amazing, right? Like I can imagine our bad deeds, my bad deeds lah, is probably higher than my good deeds. But Allah can flip this over and make it into good deeds and maybe boost my performance to enter Jannah lah, insyaAllah. So I
Inshallah,
leave you
amin.
with that quote, with that ayat. I hope it benefits you as much as it benefits me, insyaAllah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful ayat, brother. And so to everyone who is watching tonight's show, inshallah, may this session have benefited all of you. And tune in again next week as the following week, we go on a break again. Will be a revert story. And inshallah, it will be again another beneficial session for all of you. So good night, everyone from Singapore and Southeast Asia, and to Iskandar in the European countries. Good afternoon, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.